So before we get started with Teradata, so I'll just give you a basic intro about the database. So as you know, there are a lot of RDBMSs available in the market, right? Like let's say Oracle, SQL Server, and Netagent, and DB2. Plenty of databases available. And why we need Teradata again? What is so specialty about Teradata, right? That is a basic question that whenever you try to see about Teradata, that's the first question come into your mind. So yeah, basically the data that we deal on a day-to-day basis actually categorized into two types. Like one is OLTP and another one is OLAP systems, right? So OLTP is nothing but is a transaction processing data. For example, if you have a bank account and you update your account details or do some transactions, withdraw some money and update your account with some cash or something like that, all these transactions are actually carried out through OLTP systems. So that's called online transaction processing systems. So basically OLTP is more of a real-time data. Okay, so this is on a day-to-day basis or a minute-to-minute. It's used to update the data, so that is very live and it's a real-time data. That's called OLTP. And the real use of OLTP is like typically to maintain the transactions and up-to-date transaction and update the data as and when required, right? So that is about the transaction data at the real time. So what is OLTP? So as part of the scientist called Ralph Kimber, basically is the one who actually talk about data warehouse. Okay, so he's defined the data warehouse in a specific theoretical terminology. I will just explain you in the practical thing, and then I will come to the definition. So online analytical processing is nothing but for example, I am the CEO of a company or managing director of a company, right? So I need to know what my business is doing. For example, let's say Wallmart is a famous client in retail. I have inventory for let's say Nikon cameras. Okay, just an example I'm just giving here. So based on I wanted to see, like, before ordering some new load of Nikon cameras into my warehouse, I just need to see, analyze the data, like what exactly it is doing the performance, right? Like, for example, last 5 years I wanted to see the data. Let's say product ID, product name, uh, and percentage of sales, percentage of profit, and region, let's say number of years, some kind of data. I want to see the aggregation data of this. Let's say product ID is 1, 2, 3, 4, product name is Nikon, and 45% sales, and profit was around 35%, and the region is, let's say, North America, and then number of years is, let's say, it's talking about last 1 year data. Some kind of figures I just want to see and analyze this data. I'm just giving a rough example, not exactly the statistics of the data. So this is actually telling me that, okay, for the last year, how many sales were done on this camera particular product in my warehouse, and how much profit I retrieve from that. So whether I need to focus on this to order for new ones, or comes into my warehouse, something like that, I can do some strategic decisions. So this term is important, strategic decisions, right? uh, because every business is running around your analysis, not on the simply transactions or selling or buying, right? So before that, they do a lot of analysis to get into market. Okay, that is all behind the scenes, we never know that. So as an IT or analyst, like, we have to understand the business, right? So for example, the business analyst will analyze the data based on this OLAP data. That is nothing but online analytical processing. So that OLAP data contains the aggregation data of the transactional data in a more appropriate manner and in terms of some quantitative figures. So they won't give you a raw data. It's like a very sophisticated data available in OLAP, which will be used for reporting purpose. Like there are different tools in reporting like Business Object, SAP, and Cognos, and there are other tools available in the market, and Tableau. There are plenty of tools available in market to do some kind of reporting. So to do this reporting, we need the data, right? That data is actually coming from OLAP, and Teradata is actually famous for OLAP systems. Okay, that is where the Teradata comes into picture first of all. And here the strategic decisions I told, right? So basically, what is a data warehouse, right? It's a simple definition by the scientist. Subject-oriented data warehouse is a subject-oriented, integrated, non-volatile data which is used to make which is used in the decision making process. Okay, this is called the data warehouse as per the famous scientist definitions. So let's say, what is a subject oriented? Subject oriented in the sense, whenever we have a data mart or data warehouse is nothing but combining all the data at a central place, right? So when you say subject oriented, we may filter the data into various categories like market, finance, administration, sales, retail, and something like that. We can actually divide the data warehouse into different data marts. That's called subject oriented. So integrated is nothing but, so we have different vendors and everyone is sending the data to us to consolidate. So finally in data warehouse, what we do is we collect all the information, we club all the information in a single place and integrate the data to represent a unique feature of your Teradata systems. I mean, data warehouse systems. That is called integrated. So for integration, let me give you an example. For example, let's say I have a company called ABC Corp Limited. So basically, this company product vendor has been sold by the outside vendors, and they have different vendors. For example, Wallmart is actually selling a product called ABC Corporation Limited product, and it is actually spreading across different vendors. So while end of the day or end of the month, they will send the data, right? So some companies are entering this product like this: ABC Limited and ABC Corp Limited and ABC Corporation Limited, and then something like ABC. All of them represent the same company for it, but actually for their convenience they have entered the data into system like this. So but while all this data is coming into your data warehouse, I just need to integrate this data and put into a single form. Like I wanted to put as ABC Corporation Limited into my data warehouse. Whenever I put say 1 2 3 4, this should be the unique name I should see in my data warehouse. I don't see all these different names which are not actually integrated, right? So they're actually different names, though they're representing the same company. To avoid those kind of things, the data warehouse help you to integrate the data with a specific or unique name. Okay? So this is about the integration. So I can do by using different transformations in Teradata itself. I mean, when you're talking about ETL process, so Teradata can do that ETL stuff as well. So I can write some decode statement and write this logic and put into this way so that I can see that uniqueness of the column. Okay, that is called integration. And what is a non-volatile? Non-volatile is nothing but as the data is inserted into the data warehouse, we never actually delete the data from the data warehouse normally, because this is a static data and it's like more of analytical data. We don't need to do delete kind of stuff from the data warehouse. It's like a source system we use for the reporting purposes, right? So we never use kind of delete operations on the database. It's non-volatile, means it's never changing the data. We are actually inserting the data, updating the data as per the requirements, but we never do kind of any delete operations on that. That's called non-volatile. So this definition is a data warehouse definition, which is used for decision making process. Who will make the decisions? The company CEOs or managing directors or business analysts will analyze the data and send it to their managers to take some kind of decisions on the business, right? That's how the business goes. Okay, any questions so far for data warehouse, OLTP, OLAP?
Nothing from my side.
Okay, this is about the intro about the Teradata and a small intro about data warehouse. Okay, so what actually we are going to cover as part of our course content. Okay, so course content is actually talking about here are the slides. So we'll be talking about the Teradata or architecture first of all, and comparative study means why different between Teradata and other databases, and the database components, panel architecture, and administrative tools, data warehouse concepts. I mean, like here whatever we discussed, we'll be going into some more detail about data warehouse concept, because Teradata is mostly famous for data warehouse. Okay, because it can handle huge volumes of data. And one more difference I want to tell you about Teradata between other databases is Teradata is a special feature in the architecture as parallel processing. Okay, compared to other databases, the architecture is quite different, and the data of can be retrieved very faster compared to any other RDBMSs. That is a major difference, and the complete data distribution roaming around indexes. We'll be talking about these in details. What is index and Teradata concept is basically roaming around primary index, secondary index, blah blah blah. Okay, so this index actually plays a major role for distributing the data. So that what happens is whenever you retrieve a select query, basically we do on a data warehouse. So when you select something with the complex query, joins, aggregations and all stuff in your query, Teradata would be able to do it with much efficiency compared to other databases. It can retrieve millions of records in seconds. So that's the huge capacity of saving the data in Teradata. That's why it is a good candidate for data warehouse. And coming in the market, Netezza is giving competition to Teradata. At this moment, no other databases are actually can do this stuff. Okay, about the data warehouse stuff. So we'll be talking about those in detail, like architecture and how the data will be stored and distributed in the initial classes. And the total class will take around 20 hours, maybe 20 to 22 hours, depends on the students' capabilities as well. So mostly this is the ideal time to get some familiar picture of Teradata and the utilities and the SQL stuff. Okay, and Teradata SQL will be talking about. I'll give you some detailed course content. This is actually high level. So here we'll be talking about the architecture and all the stuff, right? The first one. And Teradata SQL, what actually we do? We talk about primary indexes, secure keys, and secondary indexes, and SQL, advanced SQL, like to write advanced SQL by using the analytical functions and all the stuff. Okay, and the performance tuning techniques to improve the query retrieval time and to avoid spool out issues and all the stuff, and basic SQL fundamentals, because we know that you might know the SQL. We'll be going through the fundamentals before get started with SQL, and then the data types and literals and DDL, DMS statements, and then naming conventions. How actually we need to name in real times, right? The coding conventions, whatever. That is as part of SQL. And if you come down to the bottom, the SQL, there are different functions, right? Analytical, string, format, cast, and all. This comes under SQL only. So we'll be talking about all these functions. And logical operators, joins, all your left, right, and the full outer join and all the stuff. And conditional like case, expressions, and all the stuff. Okay. So we'll be talking about all these operators and functions in SQL itself. And indexes. This is the major core component of Teradata, so we'll be talking about this one as well. Teradata index is actually plays a major role for the data distribution. So we'll be talking about all type of indexes like hash, join, type of indexes, primary and secondary, and skewness. We'll talk about skewness, keys and indexes, and where actually we use the index and how the data is distributed based on that. Okay, and the join strategies is basically all type of joins. What are the different joins that we can use as part of SQL? So all these points will come under SQL only. Okay. And here Teradata application utilities, and Teradata actually has come up with separate utility part compared to other databases, like in the built-in feature to load some kind of data or to retrieve the data from the database. They actually developed some kind of utilities from Teradata itself to make sure that they can load the data without any issues. Okay, that's called Teradata utility. We'll be talking about the utility, and out of these utilities, BTEC is a famous one. Around 70% of Teradata work will be done by using BTEC. BTEC stands for Basic Teradata Query. Okay, and fast export, fast load, mload, tpump, tpt. There are other utilities available in Teradata. So we'll be talking about all those utilities. Okay, so here this for working on these utilities, you should have some familiar idea on the SQL. So that's why we practice in depth of SQL before we load into the SQL. I mean the utilities. Basically, all the utilities will be working around your SQL commands only. There are some Teradata specific commands for the utilities. That is fine, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it is actually a SQL inside the script, right? So we need to know thoroughly about SQL before working on the utility. And in real time, as part of our project execution, we use mostly BTEC as around 70% of the code can be written in BTEC, and fast export, fast load, mload. These are the three utilities will be used after BTEC. And tpump and tpt is actually not very frequently that are using. TPT is the upcoming tool in Teradata, basically which will replace all these existing functionalities. So TPT is actually have the advantage of actually replacing all these utilities. They have the features of loading all this fast export, fast load, mload. TPT is actually new utility in Teradata. New in the sense it is upcoming in the Teradata side, so which can actually override all the functionalities of these things, fast export, fast load, mload, and all the stuff. So we'll be talking about those utilities once we complete the SQL part. Okay, and software can be provided by us. We'll be giving you the software to install that, and we'll give you the installation instructions how to do that as well on your laptop. Any questions on the course content?
Do you know for the installation of the software, does it work on the Mac or you need a Windows machine?
Basically, we need a VMware player, basically which is of Linux version. So whatever the Teradata is providing us is on the VMware player. I think doesn't matter, you can work on the VMware player on Mac as well, right?
I think for you need some VMware Fusion, or you need some other software for the player to work on. So I'll have to look for that one before I sign up for the course.
Okay. So basically, the VMware player, we have it for Windows. So I'm not sure whether it's available for Mac. So if it is available, then you can actually install the software on the the Linux version as well.
Okay. Yeah, I have to figure out that before I join the course. I'll have to see how I can. I'm familiar with VMware. I've used on Mac. I had a VMware license and I was using Windows, but my license is expired on that one. So I'll either have to buy a new license or I'll have to figure out the free software for that one.
I think you can find out the way to figure it out for Linux as well. I think because whatever the data that is installing for Teradata here is on the Linux. Code only, whatever we are installing the server. Okay. So we can check that as well. I think you have Windows laptop with you, or you have only Mac?
No, I only have Mac laptop. That's the problem. And do you provide any material to do any?
Yeah, for each and every class, like whatever we discussed the concepts, we'll provide the PPTs and PDFs to read and practice. So the materials will be available first, okay, including the Teradata architecture. So I have a lot of stuff on the not. Don't worry about that. So we can provide you all the stuff, okay? Teradata architecture, SQL, and for each and every utility we have a document. So that will give you complete overview of the Teradata. Okay. So after this course, you'll be actually familiar to work on Teradata because only thing is it's like a more on hands-on session, right? So you need little practice on the software as soon as the course complete for the day. So you have to thoroughly work on the SQL and the utilities so that you can work on the real-time, projects ASAP without any much trouble.
And do you give any material which can help for Teradata certification?
Yes, of course. So Teradata certification, there are 5 to 6 exams in 14. Recently they launched in 14. Earlier they were in 12. So we have to write at least first 2 exams, to cover that.
Okay. And access to the software, whatever is that VMware, that is once we install it on our machine, is there a time limit, like it's only valid for 30 days or something, or there is no such time?
No, there is no time limit as such. This is a non-commercial version though, non-commercial use only, but it is never-ending trial. We can work on that.
Okay.
This is the server that whatever you're seeing here is a server, the Teradata VMware I mean to say. So this acts like a server and the client can be installed on your local machine. This is the Teradata SQL Assistant where you can actually connect to the server basically. From the client and server, we can connect the server with this client directly. Okay. So this is the server where you can actually work on the queries. For example, database underscore. So something like this is a very user-friendly tool. This Teradata SQL Assistant where you can work on the SQL part. So for the utilities to work on, actually we need to have the Teradata server to work on because you cannot write directly beta script on the SQL Assistant window. So we need a Unix environment for that. So this is the Unix environment which is provided by the VMware player. So whatever I'm working here is a Linux version. Okay. So all the Unix command will work here. So this is about the server, the Linux version. All your Linux commands will work like basic Unix commands. You can work on this terminal as well. So all your beta scripts and all the Teradata scripts can be working directly here. Okay. So any questions on this? So it's like a Linux version basically. It's a flavor of Linux, right? So Teradata server is only available on the Linux version. So we can see it whether we can directly install on this Linux one, because I think whatever they have given, this is for Windows VMware player. I guess we can check in Teradata website whether there's a, because this is directly download from the Teradata website. This 14.0.3/10 version is for Windows VMware player. Alright, so we'll tell you how to install this, and this is a very straightforward installation. Okay, all the SQL Assistant and the server, so that you can actually practice the hands-on sessions on a daily basis. So any questions on this so far? The installation part, Poonam and Manish?
Nothing from my side.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is the course content, like whatever we cover, and finally we covered the requirement mostly with interview questions and real-time scenarios, installation software, and video recording for each class will be sent to you by the BigClasses team. As soon as the course completes, they will send you the recording, so that in case you wanted to practice, you can actually go to the recording and practice as well. Alright, so this is about the course content and a brief introduction about Teradata. So actually we can, if you can continue for one more actually class before registering if you want, we'll be talking about Teradata architecture. So basically this is just a demo, right? So we are going through high level course overview and the instruction details of software and all the stuff. We can talk about the Teradata architecture in the first class. If you want, you can join that as well, and you can decide on that. All right. So that's it for today's demo. Like we can continue on the class. I mean the architecture about Teradata in the next class. So that you can actually take a decision on the registration. All right.
Sure. Okay. That sounds perfect.